And this is the main entrance to Greenwood. You're gonna come in right here, but I noticed this off in the distance. Look at that. It's a horse and carriage, but that carriage portion carries a casket. There's nothing in it right now, but kind of reminds you of how they did it back in the old days. There's a better shot, a little more up close. I'm not sure if they're getting ready for something or what. Now, when I was doing research for the graves here, I found 3 classic ones, real well-known people that you're probably going to know. But then a little surprise, I found another one that you're probably going to know as well. At least if you're an avid eater of baked goods. Thank gosh for Find a Grave, because it made it a lot easier to find. But check this out, right over here off the road. Do you know this last name? Baird, as in Mrs. Baird's Bakery? Well, she is buried here. She's right behind the Baird family plot. She is right here, right next to her husband. May 23rd, 1869 to June 3rd, 1961. She was a baker and businesswoman. Now, Mrs. Baird's Bakery was founded by Mimi Baird. She developed her baking skills as a child. That's when she and her husband owned a restaurant and bakery in Obion, Tennessee. That's where she got her first experience in commercial bakery. In 1901, they came to Texas and set up the first steam popcorn machine in downtown Fort Worth. The bright red machine with its brass fittings and steam whistle was an instant hit, and another one followed within 8 months. And due to the success of the popcorn machines, it gave the Bairds the capital to buy another restaurant. They opened a lunchroom near the Santa Fe Depot, and her wonderful bread, cakes, and pies all earned her a name. After her husband became ill, she realized that she could not make a living by baking bread, so she sold the restaurant in 1908 and founded Mrs. Baird's Bread at Home. She sent her children out to sell the bread. Her business was so successful that by 1915 she purchased an oven from the old hotel and set it up in her backyard. She was delivering bread by horse and wagon by the year 1917. Now, her company did flourish over time, and she launched other bakeries around Texas. She had 9 facilities with over 2,500 employees when she died in 1961, and she was the country's largest independent family-owned bakery. Now, the news of her death reached the front page of the Texas newspapers. In her memory, the Texas State Senate passed a resolution declaring her a living example for mothers, wives, business executives, Christians, and good people all over the world. Mrs. Baird's bread is still made by Bimbo Bakeries after the family sold the company in 1908. I think one of the most fascinating things about visiting various cemeteries around the country is, well, the layout, obviously who's buried here, and just all the different types of tombstones, markers, mausoleums. I mean, a lot of them are so Gothic looking. Almost like the Roman Empire, some of these. I mean, look at that one over there with the columns. Just so beautiful and peaceful. Now, here's another one I came across yesterday as well. Buried off here behind this big, beautiful tree. It's a man named Roy Roberts, a familiar face from classic television and film. Over the course of his career, he appeared in more than 200 roles, often playing sheriffs, detectives, and authority figures. He was that character actor you may know the face. Now, if you come here to Greenwood looking for Roy Roberts, he's off the side of this road right here, depending which way you come, and you just look for this marker with the name Moore, and he is right down below. There he is. Roy Roberts, 1906 to 1975, beloved husband of Lillian Moore Roberts. Now, it says 1916, but there's no death date. Now, Roy Roberts, you likely saw him in shows like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Twilight Zone, Perry Mason, etc. Now, he may not have always been the lead guy, but he was one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors. Someone whose face audiences instantly recognize. He was born as Roy Barnes Jones in Tampa, Florida, youngest of 6 children. His early career was on the Broadway stage in such plays as Old Man Murphy, 20th Century, The Body Beautiful, and My Sister Eileen. He was under contract at 20th Century Fox in the 40s. His film debut was in Guadalcanal Diary in 1943. He most often played, including military officers, clerics, police officers, and the likes. He guest starred on TV series too numerous to mention, but including My Little Marjorie, The Lone Ranger, The Adventures of Rin Tin Tin, Harry Mason, The Andy Griffith Show, Twilight Zone, Dick Van Dyke Show, The Munsters, The Addams Family, Laredo, Family Affair, and Here's Lucy. He often worked with Lucille Ball and Gail Storm. He appeared on screen as the mayor in Roman Polanski's Chinatown in 1974. In 1975, his final screen appearance was in The Strongest Man in the World. He was one of entertainment's busiest actors during his 40-year career. Now, one thing we always like to do when we go to cemeteries is always just look around, check your surroundings. You know, other than the graves you actually came here to visit, check out some of the others. You never know what you're going to see. Like this one right here, a man by the name of Michael Goldman, entrepreneur. Wars fought, revolutions started, government ruined, uprisings quelled, tigers tamed, rooms rented, bars cleared, and excuses verified. Now, Elizabeth, when she comes to check out some of these markers, she likes to look up on her phone, sometimes the history. And this was actually what was printed on his business cards. It is now printed on his marker. How cool. I like that. And down below it says, the world's greatest parents. Right out here close to the entrance, you're going to see this beautiful statue. Some Bible verses down here at the base. But the backside says, Hill family. And over here, off to the side of that, is one you're really going to recognize. If you stayed out from school in the 80s, you were homesick, this would always be on your TV if you loved game shows. There's the family plot right there. It says Roddy on it. We're talking about Rod Roddy, one of the, if not the, most recognizable voices in game show history.
His flashy outfits were as well known as his booming voice. Today, CBS announced Rod Roddy, the voice of The Price is Right, has died.
Ariana Arambula, Eric Meinhardt, Patrice Grayson, Tara Lee Boberg, come on down. You're the next contestant.
Distinctive it was. For 17 years, he delivered those words that audience members wanted to hear the most. The 66-year-old was a fixture on the popular daytime game show. Bob Barker was the host, of course. He passed away yesterday at an LA hospital. Roddy had been battling colon, prostate, and breast cancer, first diagnosed 2 years ago. He's already recorded upcoming episodes, though, of The Price is Right, and that will continue running through November.
And right here on the other side, it says Jameson Roddy. And just right below it, there he is, the world's greatest announcer from The Price is Right, Robert R. Rod Roddy, September 28th, 1937, October 27th, 2003. Known for his saying, "Come on down." Now, even though he's probably best remembered for his signature line, "Come on down" from The Price is Right, that phrase was originated and made popular by his predecessor, Johnny Olson. Now, Rod Roddy, he was born right here in Fort Worth, graduated from TCU, became a disc jockey and talk show host on KLIF and KUNS FM radio in Dallas, Texas. Later on, he worked at the Buffalo, New York radio station and at high other profile stations as well. That was in the 70s. He returned to KLIF and KUNS, where he hosted a call-in program called Rod Roddy's Hotline. whose controversial host and topics made him a frequent target of death threats. Now, from 77 to 1981, he announced the situation television comedy Soap, where he provided the opening and closing narration. Confused? You won't be after this week's episode of Soap. He replaced Casey Kasem, who quit the series after the pilot due to the adult themes the show promoted. His first work as a game show announcer was on Whew, spelled W-H-E-W. That aired from 79 to 1980. And from there, he went on to announce several other game shows, including Battlestars, Hitman, Love Connection, and Press Your Luck. Additionally, he voiced a number of television commercials, including those of Pennzoil and Public Storage. Now, after Johnny Olson died in October '85, he was selected as one of the several substitute announcers for The Price is Right. Despite only announcing for 6 episodes, on February 17, 1986, he was proclaimed as the show's regular announcer going forward. He was also the announcer on Tom Kennedy's nighttime Price is Right after Olson's death. Rod Roddy was noted for wearing brightly colored and sequined sport jackets, a practice he first adopted as a trademark when making personal appearances. Now, he later adopted a rigorous diet and exercise program. He was overweight for much of his adult life, but the program resulted in his loss of close to 200 pounds. Now, with his weight loss regimen becoming a much lauded success, he was frequently shown on camera while he announced the next contestant on The Price is Right, and was occasionally featured in showcase skits aiding the Barker's Beauties. Beginning in season 31, his on-air camera appearances were eliminated from the show under the claim that it was against the show's distributor policy for announcers to appear on camera during any of its game shows. Later, insiders speculated that a falling out between him and show host Bob Barker was the real reason. He only ever appeared once more, briefly, on the season 32 premiere after his return from a lengthy absence. Jumping up to September 2001, that's when he was diagnosed with colon cancer. He then had to take a leave of absence to undergo and recover from surgery and chemotherapy, and returned a month later to The Price is Right. But a year later, the colon cancer did return, and he temporarily took another leave of absence to undergo and recover from surgery in September 2002. Now, March 2003, he was diagnosed with male breast cancer. He underwent surgery and afterwards experienced major complication. And as a result, he was unable to announce for The Price is Right for the rest of the season. Now, the diagnosis led to his becoming a spokesperson for early detection of cancer in the last few years. Despite his illness for over 2 years, he continued to announce for The Price is Right for as long as he was able to, up until his last hospitalization 2 months before his death. He was eventually replaced by Rich Fields in April 2004. Rod Roddy's final announced episode aired October 20th, 2003, just 1 week before his death from cancer in Los Angeles at the age of 66. Right here at the front of Greenwood is the beautiful mausoleum. We have 2 more left to visit, and one of them is inside these walls. Isn't this beautiful? I mean, look at the stained glass windows. There's one on each side. Now, according to Find a Grave, Van Cliburn is over near an Alexander Hamilton statue, which I believe is over near the chapel. But we're just going to do a little walkthrough, just to show you how peaceful this is. Wow. I think I see the chapel up ahead. This is massive. Way bigger than I thought. You're going to see a lot of these sayings, too, on the entrance to some of these hallways. This one right here from William Shakespeare says, "Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest." All right, so here are the doors to the chapel. It is open, so we can go inside. I checked it out a few minutes ago. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? All the statues of the historical figures lining both sides. But we're going to look for the Alexander Hamilton statue, because that's where our next person is going to be. That's John Hancock. I think here it is right here. He's right behind this statue here.
The world-renowned pianist Van Cliburn, who started playing the piano at the age of 3, died today at his home in Fort Worth. The cause was bone cancer. Van Cliburn became a superstar as a 23-year-old from Fort Worth, Texas, when he won the 1958 International Tchaikovsky competition in Moscow. It was also unexpected that the Soviet judges reportedly went to the Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev for approval to award him the prize. And he was honored back home with a ticker tape parade. Cliburn was treated like a rock star with sold-out concerts, and when 60 Minutes turned 25, he helped us celebrate. In 1987, Cliburn performed at the White House for the last Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, and he got a bear hug. His last appearance was in September.
I love you all from the bottom of my heart forever.
Van Cliburn was 78.
And right over here, Van Cliburn, 1934 to 2013. If you're not sure who Van Cliburn is, he was a classical musician, a pianist, and he won the International Tchaikovsky Piano Competition in Moscow in 1958, right at the height of the Cold War. It made him a figure on the world stage and led to a thaw in the United States-Soviet Union relations. Now the audience at that competition, it gave him an 8-minute standing ovation, and judges reportedly had to ask permission from Nikita Khrushchev to award him the prize. And when he returned home, he received a parade right there in New York City, and he's one of the few classical musicians to achieve mainstream celebrity status. His recording of Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto No. 1 became a bestseller. He was known for his powerful, emotional playing style. He performed around the world for many decades, and he later inspired the creation of the Van Cliburn International Piano Competition, and that competition is still held here in Fort Worth, Texas, today. Now, he did pass away in 2013 at the age of 78. It's just so cool being in here. I mean, it's such a quiet place. Oh, look at this, right here on the floor. The big emblem moving up. July 4th, 1976. Independence Day. All these historical figures lined up. John Adams we just passed. Here comes Thomas Jefferson. Look at that. Now they're saying, a quote, "Liberty lies in the hearts of men and women. When it dies there, no constitution, no law, no court can save it." Judge Leonard Hand. Now we have one more person to go visit, and if you're an avid fan of golfing, you're probably going to know who this person is. Now, just literally right next door to the mausoleum where Van Cliburn is interred is one of the most famous golfers probably to ever live. I mean, I don't know much about golf, so I'll let the pro golfers and pro fans comment on that. But right here, this is the great Ben Hogan, 1912 to 1997, and right next to him is his wife Valerie, 1911 to 1999. Now, Ben Hogan, he's widely considered one of the greatest golfers in history. He's known for his precision, discipline, and one of the most iconic comebacks in sports. Around the Fort Worth area, he's more than a legend. He's a local icon. He's a 9-time major champion. That includes 4 US Opens, 2 Masters, 2 PGA championships, and 1 Open championship. He's one of the only few golfers to win the career Grand Slam, and he's known for having one of the most perfect swings ever. And some still say his swing is still studied today by golfers all over the world. Now, let's go back to 1949.
In the early hours of February 2nd, 1949, on a fog-shrouded Texas highway, his plans and body were shattered when a bus smashed his car head-on as he instinctively threw his body to protect his wife Valerie. His life saved and broken body now on the mend, he began to plot his return to walking, then hitting golf balls, and then to championship form. Less than a year later, Hogan was back, and knowledgeable observers were convinced that the great Hogan swing was even greater, in part because the accident had quieted his lower body action to the point that it rarely outraced his upper body to the ball. Hogan was now forced to reduce his schedule, avoid tournaments that required 36 holes in one day, and dole out his now dwindling and precious supply of world-class performances. His legs were painful and easy to fatigue, and circulation difficulties caused numbness and chills. In June of 1950, at the Merion Golf Club, Hogan was confidently obsessed with winning his second United States Open and faced a long second shot to the 72nd green.
I really had about a 4-wood shot, and I wasn't playing the 4-wood very well. And the pin was cut over a bunker on the right side of the green, and I needed to cut a 4-wood in there. But I was afraid of my ability with the 4-wood at that time. So I took the 1-iron and played straight in there. If I was lucky, I could hold the 30-footer I had for 3 and win the tournament. But if not, I'd 2-putt and still get a tie.
After 2-putting to get into the playoff, Hogan shot a 69, beat Lloyd Mangrum and George Fazio, and began an assault that would yield 6 major championships over the next 4 seasons.
Just right here across the way from the Hogans, look at this beautiful statue. We had one of the workers in here talking to us about some of these mausoleums. She was telling us how they load the caskets in, and I mean, yeah, you load them from the front and then you put the plate in. But yeah, she was giving us a pretty interesting description how the bodies get put in here, whether they be in a coffin or an urn. Interesting conversation, but she was very nice. But look at that. This is one of Greenwood's mausoleums. Look at that stained glass window. Let's just do a quick panoramic view to the other side. People all up above, people in the middle, people down below. There's the lady right there talking to Elizabeth. She's been here 36 years. And we learned this is not her mausoleum, but every other Saturday she comes in here to work, so she's helping out. I wanted to get a closer look at one of these stained glass windows. I haven't done that yet. Been getting them from a distance. Isn't that something though? The way the light, it's not a sunny day, so you're not getting the full effect, but still, the way the daylight comes through, it's almost Gothic looking. So from one of the most recognizable bakers, pianists, character actor, game show host, announcer, and golfers, some of the most famous people are buried here. It's a unique place with a very loud history. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this walk through Greenwood Memorial Park. If you get a chance, come here, pay your respects to some of these famous graves. It's a very peaceful place. So with that being said, we will see you down the road.